90-Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After likely just revealed why Brandon and Julia publicly spoiled pregnancy news in the middle of the season. Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I hope you are well. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Fans of 90-Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After? Know the series thrives on emotional revelations, messy conflicts and unexpected turns. But no one could have predicted the way Brandon Gibbs and Julia Trubkina handled what should have been one of the most precious milestones in their lives: their pregnancy news. Instead of waiting for the cameras to capture the moment or letting TLC build the storyline with suspense, the couple stunned audiences by going public with the pregnancy in the middle of the season, essentially spoiling what could have been the season's most dramatic reveal. Why did they do it? What was going on behind the scenes? And how did fans, family, and producers react to the timing? To understand it, we have to rewind and see not just the announcement, but the entire landscape of Brandon and Julia's ongoing journey. The tension with Brandon's parents, the cultural differences they've battled since their early days, and the way reality TV shaped their choices. This is not just a headline. It's a story of two young people caught between love, fame, and the relentless gaze of an audience that expects every intimate detail to be part of the show's narrative. The season had already been leaning heavily into the strain between Brandon and Julia and Brandon's parents, Betty and Ron. Ever since Julia moved to Virginia from Russia, she struggled with the demands of farm life and the expectations placed upon her. Viewers still remember Julia's early days of frustration, being asked to feed animals at sunrise and handle chores she never signed up for. As Brandon and Julia tried to establish themselves independently, pregnancy rumors began circulating online. A blurry photo here, a cryptic Instagram caption there. Fans are master detectives after all. But instead of denying or confirming, the couple stayed silent. Until suddenly they didn't. It happened quietly at first. Julia uploaded a photo of herself with a noticeable bump, writing in her caption something about new beginnings. Brandon followed with his own post, alluding to becoming a father. Within hours, the news spread across every 90-Day Fiancé fan forum, Facebook group, and Reddit thread. Fans were thrilled but also confused. Why reveal this mid-season when the show's biggest selling point is that audiences get to experience life changes alongside the cast? TLC producers typically enforce strict NDAs to prevent spoilers. So why would Brandon and Julia risk backlash from the network? The answer, as it turns out, was layered in emotion, defiance, and timing. It was late evening in their modest Richmond apartment. Brandon scrolled through Instagram comments while Julia paced the living room. "They are already guessing," Julia said in her thick but charming accent. "Every day people write, 'Are you pregnant? We see your face look different. We see your body. How long we pretend?'" Brandon sighed, running his hand through his hair. "I know. But TLC wants this moment for the show. If we spill now, we'll get in trouble." Julia stopped pacing and looked at him with frustration. "This is my life, Brandon. Our baby. Why must we hide? I want to be happy now, not when show says." Brandon put his phone down and crossed the room to her. "I get it. I don't want to mess things up with the network. They've given us so much already. But maybe you're right. Maybe we should do this for us, not them." That night the decision was made. They would share the news no matter the consequences. The posts went live the following morning. Within 10 minutes, Julia's comments section exploded. "OMG. Congratulations, you two. Wait, aren't you guys in the middle of filming? Did you just spoil the season? Betty must be losing her mind already." On Reddit, threads multiplied. Some fans celebrated the couple for reclaiming control of their storyline. Others criticized them for ruining the suspense. One Redditor wrote, "I get that it's their life, but they signed up for a reality show. Spoiling the pregnancy mid-season makes the show feel fake. What's the point of watching now?" Another responded, "Actually, I respect Julia for this. TLC has controlled so much of her story since day one. Maybe she finally said enough is enough." Meanwhile, behind the scenes, TLC producers were scrambling. Back in New York, a conference call buzzed between executives. "This can't be happening," one producer muttered, reviewing the couple's social media posts. "They just spoiled a primary storyline." Another voice chimed in, calmer. "Or maybe this works in our favor. People are talking. Social engagement is off the charts. Maybe we pivot and spin this into the narrative." Indeed, while the producers were frustrated, they also recognized something important. Controversy sells. And Brandon and Julia had just created a storm of it. Of course, no story involving Brandon and Julia would be complete without Betty and Ron. When they found out, ironically through social media like everyone else, the reactions were predictably strong. Betty, ever protective and controlling, called Brandon immediately. "Why didn't you tell us first?" she demanded over the phone. "We're your family. We should have known before the entire internet." Brandon tried to calm her. "Mom, we wanted to do it our way. Julia and I decided together." But Julia, sitting next to him, whispered just loud enough to be heard on speakerphone, "This is our life, not your show." The tension was palpable. And for fans, this new dynamic promised even juicier drama once the episodes caught up to real time. Fans and experts alike began dissecting why Brandon and Julia chose to reveal the pregnancy when they did. Several theories emerged. Emotional authenticity. Julia never enjoyed being silenced by TLC's NDAs. Revealing on her own terms gave her a sense of control. Fan pressure. With constant speculation, the couple may have felt cornered into confirming before rumors spiraled further. Conflict with TLC. Some insiders suggest Brandon and Julia have been pushing back against producers more this season, and this reveal was a quiet rebellion. Monetization. Influencers often time announcements to maximize engagement. A pregnancy reveal can attract brand deals, sponsorships, and social media growth. Later, after the storm of comments and phone calls, Brandon and Julia sat on their couch, holding hands. "Do you think we made mistake?" Brandon asked softly. Julia shook her head. "No. For once I feel free. This is our baby. Our happiness. Not TV shows happiness. One day our child will see this and know we were proud, not hiding." Brandon smiled faintly. "Then I guess whatever happens next, we face it together." It was one of those rare moments where the noise of reality television faded, and what remained was just two people in love, preparing for the biggest journey of their lives. As weeks went by, the fandom stayed divided. Some praised Julia for being bold. Others accused her of breaking the contract of reality television. But one thing was clear. The conversation about Brandon and Julia overshadowed other couples on the show. Whether by accident or strategy, they became the central focus of the season. The story of Brandon and Julia's pregnancy reveal is more than just a spoiler. It's a glimpse into the pressures reality stars face. The balance between personal freedom and contractual obligations, between living authentically and performing for an audience. Their choice to spoil the season midway may have angered producers, but it also sparked discussions about agency, privacy, and whether reality TV should have the right to control such life-altering news. At the end of the day, a pregnancy is not just a storyline. It's a human experience. And maybe, just maybe, Brandon and Julia reminded us that beneath the editing, the contracts, and the cameras, these are real people with real lives. When Brandon Gibbs and Julia Trupkina chose to publicly reveal their pregnancy in the middle of the Happily Ever After season, they unleashed a whirlwind of reactions. Fans cheered, producers panicked, Betty and Ron felt blindsided, and the internet buzzed with theories. But what started as controversy slowly evolved into something more meaningful. The storm gave way to clarity, healing, and an unexpected sense of unity, not only for Brandon and Julia, but also for their families and fans who had followed their journey since Julia first stepped onto that Virginia farm. This ending is not about scandal. It's about growth, forgiveness, and choosing love above all else. The first test came from TLC. At first, executives debated whether to punish the couple. Contracts are strict, and breaking NDAs usually has consequences. But the social media engagement was undeniable. Views were up, hashtags trending, and Brandon and Julia's names dominated 90-day Fiancé discussions. A meeting was held in New York. One senior producer finally said, "Why fight this? Let's adapt." Their reveal gave us real buzz. We'll re-edit the season, build suspense differently, and show the fallout as it is. This isn't a disaster, it's free publicity. For once, a couple's rebellion didn't sink the storyline. It made it stronger. Betty was still upset weeks after the announcement. One evening, she and Ron sat at the dining table sipping coffee, tension heavy in the air. "I just don't understand," Betty said, her voice trembling. "Why wouldn't he call us first? We're his parents. We should have been the first to know. Ron sighed. Betty, they're starting their own family. Maybe we need to accept that he doesn't need us to control everything anymore. Betty frowned but didn't argue. Deep down she knew Ron was right. Later that night Brandon and Julia visited. Julia held her stomach gently as she walked in, a quiet reminder of the life growing inside her. Mom, Dad, Brandon said softly, I'm sorry. We should have told you sooner. We wanted one thing to be ours before it became everyone else's. Julia added, her accent tender but firm. We love you, but this baby is first about us. Please understand. Betty's eyes filled with tears. For the first time she reached out and placed her hand on Julia's belly. I just want to be part of it. Promise me that. Julia nodded. You will be. But as grandparents, not as decision makers. It was a turning point. Not perfect, not without tension, but progress. On social media, fans who had criticized the couple at first began to shift. One viral Reddit post read, You know what? I respect Brandon and Julia. They took control of their story. Reality TV shouldn't own someone's pregnancy. I'm glad they chose themselves over the show. Instagram comments grew more supportive with messages like, Wishing you guys the best journey into parenthood. Forget the drama. Focus on your baby. You deserve happiness. You two are my favorite couple. Can't wait to see you as parents. The narrative was changing. What began as backlash became a wave of positivity. In their Richmond apartment, Brandon and Julia sat on the couch, lights dim, their dog curled up at their feet. Julia whispered, Do you think our child will see all of this one day? The show, the drama, everything. Brandon smiled softly. Maybe. But I want them to see something else too, that we stood up for ourselves, that we put love first. Julia leaned against him, closing her eyes. I want them to grow up free. Not controlled, not judged like I was when I came here. Brandon kissed the top of her head. We'll give them that. I promise. It was a simple moment, but it carried the weight of everything they had endured. Julia's pregnancy also softened old wounds between her and Betty. At a family dinner weeks later, Betty surprised everyone by cooking a Russian-inspired dish after researching recipes online. I wanted to do something special for you, Betty said nervously as she set the food down. Julia smiled in surprise. This tastes like home. The gesture spoke louder than words. For once, Betty wasn't trying to control, she was trying to connect. Julia later told Brandon privately, Maybe your mom and I will never fully agree. But tonight I see she is trying. That is enough for now. By the time the tell-all reunion came around, the controversy had transformed into one of the season's most memorable arcs. Sean Robinson, ever the composed host, leaned in and asked, So, Brandon and Julia, fans want to know, why reveal the pregnancy mid-season? Julia looked at Brandon, then straight at the camera. Because life does not wait for TV. We wanted to be happy in real time. This baby is not storyline. It's family. And sometimes you must choose family first. The studio audience erupted in applause. Even fellow cast members nodded in respect. For once, the couple who had been underestimated early in the franchise stood tall, united and admired. As months passed, Brandon and Julia turned their attention inward. Doctor visits, nursery planning, gentle arguments over baby names. All the small but beautiful steps toward parenthood filled their days. Brandon painted the nursery pale yellow, while Julia carefully folded tiny clothes. I still can't believe this is happening, Brandon said one afternoon, brushing sweat from his forehead as he stood back to admire his work. Julia hugged him from behind. Believe it. We are not just TV couple anymore. We are mom and dad. The reality of it finally felt bigger than any camera lens could capture. On a crisp Virginia morning, Brandon and Julia walked hand in hand across the farm fields. The same land that once represented control and struggle now felt different. Like the beginning of something new. Do you ever think about how far we've come? Brandon asked. Julia smiled. From farm chores to baby bottles. Yes, we have come far. As they stood there, the sun rising over the horizon, Julia rested her hand on her belly. Brandon placed his hand over hers. Whatever happens, he said, we'll protect this family. Our family. Julia nodded. Always. In that moment, the noise of television, contracts, and controversies faded away. What remained was simple, powerful, and eternal. love, hope, and the promise of a future they would build together. Brandon and Julia's story reminds us that reality TV can shape narratives, but it cannot define lives. Their decision to reveal their pregnancy mid-season may have bent the rules, but it also highlighted something bigger: the right to claim joy without permission. Fans will remember the drama, the tension, the debates. But what truly endures is the image of two people choosing authenticity, family, and love above all else. As Julia once said during the reunion, "This is not just show. This is life. And life is beautiful."